Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel, and in this video I'll be removing a massive German yellow jacket colony that made its nest inside of a dentist office's wall. The founding yellow jacket queen had actually found her way into the wall space through an exterior outlet that allowed access through the brick wall on the outside into the wall cavity. Once inside, she carved up her empire inside that space to a whopping colony size of about 2,000 yellow jackets. The dental practice had yellow jackets flying around inside that office space, and they decided to call me to try to see if I could locate the nest, which I did, and I pulled it out. And as with all the colonies that I remove, they get 100% recycled here at my house by my animals eating the larvae, the nest being decomposed in my compost pile, and all the adult wasps that are sucked up inside my vacuum are eaten by a local skunk here on my property. Here's the video, check it out. So this client had called me and noticing yellow jackets flying around their dental office space. They couldn't tell where the yellow jackets were coming from, so they called me to come and locate where the nest was and remove it if I could find it. I took a walk on the outside of the building and noticed yellow jackets flying in underneath of this outlet cover. So I knew this is where they were going in from, so I knew the nest had to be inside that wall space. That's where they're getting in. Let's see if we can find out where they're going from there. So I went inside and used my FLIR imaging camera to look for a heat signature, and I found one right towards the bottom of this wall, right behind where that outlet cover was. So I poked the drywall a little bit just to see if it was soft. It wasn't soft, so they hadn't started chewing through the drywall yet. And I also put my ear on the wall to see if I could hear the rustling sound, and I did actually hear quite a bit of rustling, so I knew the nest was right behind this spot. Poked a hole with my keyhole saw, and yellow jackets started pouring out, so I knew bingo, that's right where the nest was. So when I start making cuts, I don't like to make one massive cut right off the bat. I like to make sure that's exactly where the nest is. So even though there's a heat signature there, and even though that's where I hear the yellow jackets, that doesn't mean that that's where the main part of the nest is. So I cut this about 4x4 hole, and of course, that's where the nest was. Tons of yellow jackets inside this colony. This thing was about 2,000 individuals strong. So vacuuming up as many as I can while I'm cutting the hole is paramount. I don't want a bunch flying into the space while I'm doing this, so I try to keep the vacuum running and keep the nozzle collecting as many as I can. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. You're going to have yellow jackets flying around the space anyway. So nobody was actually in this dental practice at this time. This was on a weekend, and I was able to get this out while they were outside office hours. So the yellow jackets flying around inside this office space, and I kept all the lights off because I didn't want them, since there was like cathedral ceilings, I don't want them flying up into the cathedral ceiling. I had to have my ladder set up all over the place. But there was one big bay window, and that's pretty much where they all went. So once I was done here, I just went around to that bay window and started vacuuming them off of it. But you can see that they were chewing away quite a bit of insulation, because you can see the backing, the insulation backing, which is that paper, and then the insulation batting, which is the yellow cotton candy looking stuff. So they had chewed away quite a bit of that insulation and carried it outside and got rid of it. So that's actually what they'll do, is when they're inside of a space and they're trying to excavate out that cavity to allow more room for the nest, they will chew up insulation, batten board, insulation board, whatever's in their way to expand their nest bigger, they'll chew it away. And that's including drywall, studding, wires, any of that. They'll chew at it to try to move it out of the way so they make the nest bigger. And that's what they did here. They were removing quite a bit of this insulation. So what they'll do is they'll actually kind of like pull it apart little by little, and then they'll ball it up, and then they'll carry it outside, fly off about 40 yards, and drop it outside. So somewhere in this client's property, there's a bunch of batten insulation and like little balls. So a lot like a subterranean yellow jacket nest you guys have seen me remove, when they're excavating out these spaces and they run into like a root, or in this case a wire, they'll clean off that wire, and oftentimes they will chew through the insulation of the wire. So they'll chew through like the plastic or rubbery material on the outside of the wire casing, and they'll chew away at that, and it'll get really thin. I have found exposed wires every now and then. It can be pretty dangerous if you think about it, because if those two wires touch each other inside of there, that could cause a fire. So there is a concern about that when you have a nest inside your wall, is they can actually cause a fire, not directly by them chewing on the wire, but if the wires were to touch. So that's always a concern. So this yellow jacket you'll see here, she actually has some material for meat that she was going to be feeding to a larva. It's really neat to see. It's just like bright pink. So I'm not sure exactly what she was chewing on, whether it was fruit material like from like an apple or a peach or cherry, berry or something like that. But she had something there for larva, which she got sucked up. She never got a chance to feed it to them. So I need to cut this hole just a little bit bigger because I want to make sure it didn't go over into the other stud space. So even once I cut out here, I cut right up to the stud and then cut down and got it out. And I could see against the stud that there was no yellow jackets flying in or crawling in through there. Sometimes you'll see a little bit of a cut in the backing of the drywall, so that's where they can be making a path in and out from one bay to the other. And they weren't doing that. So separating a couple pieces of comb, I wasn't able to pull this out in one solid piece just because there were several wires going through it. I just decided to take them apart layer by layer, and was able to get like 3 comb out at a time. So you can see that I had pulled these apart, and usually there's a bunch of adult yellow jackets in between them that are able to fly. Now these ones were a lot of newly hatched adults. They weren't trying to fly out, and some of them were males, so they weren't all that interested in attacking or flying out from the space. They wanted to stay with the nest itself. People often ask what the white things are inside of the comb. Those white pieces are actually silk caps, and that's what the larva will weave that to kind of make like a cocoon for themselves to go through their metamorphosis to turn into an adult wasp. So if you see a lot of those white pieces, those white silk caps on a nest, that's going to be a lot of adults who are going to be hatching really soon. And I've showed in some of my videos, if I pull off those silk caps, it'll show different stages of development of the pupating adult. So some of them will be still creamy looking like a larva, some of them will be completely developed into like a full adult wasp, and other ones will kind of have like in between. They're slightly larva colored, but they have legs and things. And that is a big, big nest. There were so many adults in there. I did find the queen in this one, but I didn't get a shot of her, unfortunately. And people always ask, like, what's the difference between the queen and the workers and things? And the queens are just larger looking workers, and they have more robust colors and body structures to them. So you can see here where they cut out the hole initially where they were going to put the outlet. I guess they must have put it down a little bit lower, but so the hole through the wall is up a little bit higher than where the outlet actually was. And they just caked it with envelope. They caked it all over that brick. They caked it all over the inside of the plywood. Of course, this whole space here used to be filled with insulation. There's no insulation in here at all, and I didn't suck much of it up. So down at the bottom, I just kind of clear away some of the batting insulation and what was left down there, and vacuumed up a lot of the adults from the bottom of the cavity. And then I just temporarily tape that spot up until someone can come back and patch the drywall.
People always ask what's inside the vacuum. This is what's inside the vacuum. Let me dump it out for you. Bonk. Nothing but sludge and dead carcasses. Come on, birdies. Hey, Ginger. Hey, Jibbit. Hey, Jibbit. Up, up, up. Excuse me, Giblet.
Squirrel. Ivory. Hello, Squirrel Squirrel. Been a minute, Squirrel Squirrel. Oh, Squirrel Squirrel. Oh, Humphrey Squirrel.
Tell this hive was on its way out. It's hard. It's like sporadically laid. These are probably all male larvae. I'm not gonna tweeze all of them. I'm gonna keep a bunch in here for her. Put it in the fridge.
Ew. In a bag, right?
Well, it's not gonna do anything. And these are all, oh that sucks. Pop that one. These are all larvae that have been relayed. These cells have already been used once. You can tell that they have the fringes on the top where the white caps used to be. And look down inside, you see that there's multiple eggs down in there. There's an egg there, but then some of them have like 3 eggs in a spot. Alright, that's probably good enough for now.
Alright, let's go feed the squirrel.
That's all I got for you, Squirrel Squirrel. That's all I got for you, Squirrel. Look at your bushy tail, Squirrel.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to check out this video. If there's something you'd like to see me cover in an upcoming video, that has to do with species of yellow jackets or macro shots showing how they function, their body parts, their hair, and how it moves independently, all that stuff. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys would like to see me cover. You can even just comment and say, I like just your traditional removals. I want to see more of your macro shots. I want to see more bald-faced hornets, subterranean yellow jackets, cavity nest building yellow jackets, or even European hornets. Or if you guys like to see another top 5 of my most extreme removals, or even just a ranking of some of my favorite removals. Whatever you guys like to see, I want to show you. Alright everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video and supporting my channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.